I give the call to the Deputy Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question goes to the Prime Minister. I refer to the Treasurer's claim in his previous answer that he has a fiscal rule to control spending which is to bank most of the upward revision in revenue. However, according to his own pre-election budget, the upward revision in revenue was $8 billion, and he plans to blow the lot, plus another $26 billion. Will the Prime Minister insist his Treasurer introduces quantifiable fiscal rules to stop his spending spree?
Call to the Prime Minister.
To the Treasurer, I will take the opportunity to say that I'll insist that this Treasurer continue to do the great work that he has done over the last 4 years and not follow the rabbits opposite down that hole, which they dug year after year after year when they were elected with a policy in 2013 of producing a budget surplus first year and every year thereafter. And they came in, they slashed education, they slashed health, and they managed to produce zero budget surpluses. And then they went to the recent election. It is some achievement, Mr Speaker, to go to an election saying we are going to have higher taxes for 14 million Australians and we're going to have higher deficits as well over 2 years.
The Deputy Leader on a point of order.
On relevance, Mr Speaker, I asked the Prime Minister a very clear question about whether or not he will insist his Treasurer, given the facts I provided, that he in fact blew the revision, whether or not he will insist that his Treasurer introduces fiscal rules.
All right. I just ask you to resume your seat. The Prime Minister is insisting the Treasurer, but I'll just draw him back to the question to make sure he's being directly relevant to the answer.
I was very relevant, saying the position that I support and what I will instruct the Treasurer to do is to keep doing the fantastic job that he's doing. That is what I will do. And what I won't do is be put off by the sternness that we used to see when the member opposite stood up supporting his nuclear power plan. That would blow a hole in the budget worth hundreds of billions of dollars. I'll ask the Treasurer to add to the answer.
Treasurer has the call.
Thanks, Speaker. I'll give you three numbers, Mr Speaker. Under this government, we've banked about 70% of upward revision to revenue. Under those opposite, it was about 40%. Under Howard and Costello, it was about 30%. And what that tells the House, Mr Speaker, what that tells the Shadow Treasurer, is that we bank most of the upward revisions to revenue and they spend most of it. And that's why their fiscal rules in office weren't worth the paper that they were written on, Mr Speaker, because they failed every single test that they set for themselves. They said they'd deliver surpluses. They went none for nine, complete donuts, Mr Speaker, when it comes to surpluses. We delivered surpluses in our first 2 years in office, Mr Speaker. And so what matters here is the fiscal rules and also the outcomes, and we've been able to make some good progress cleaning up the mess that was left to us by those opposite when they left us $1 trillion in Liberal debt, when they left us huge deficits as far as the eye could see. And we turned 2 of those Liberal deficits into 2 substantial Labor surpluses, Mr Speaker. And so we will stack up our record on responsible economic management against those opposite any day, Mr Speaker, and I hope that these questions continue. Because when I was told, Mr Speaker, that the member for Fairfax gave a speech about Charlie and the chocolate factory, I confess that the word wonka was almost the word that came to mind.
In the bustling chamber of Australia's Parliament, during a heated question time session, the Deputy Leader of the Opposition fires a pointed query at the Prime Minister, challenging the Treasurer's fiscal discipline. She highlights how, despite a claimed rule to bank most revenue upgrades, the pre-election budget shows an $8 billion windfall being entirely spent, plus an extra $26 billion in the red. Will you demand quantifiable rules to curb this spending frenzy? She demands, her tone sharp as a fiscal scalpel. The Prime Minister, unflinching, deflects with praise for his Treasurer's stellar 4-year track record, contrasting it against the opposition's past failures, like their 2013 promise of perpetual surpluses that yielded none, amid slashes to health and education. He mocks their recent election pitch of higher taxes and deficits for millions, refusing to chase their rabbit hole of hypocrisy. When pressed on relevance, he doubles down. I'll insist he keeps up the fantastic work, pivoting to blast the opposition's nuclear power plan as a budget-busting black hole worth hundreds of billions. Handing off to the Treasurer, who steps in with hard numbers. Under their government, they've banked 70% of revenue upgrades, versus the opposition's 40% and even lower under predecessors. We deliver surpluses, they delivered donuts, 0 for 9, he quips, touting their cleanup of $1 trillion liberal debt and flipping deficits into labor surpluses. The exchange crackles with wit and barbs, culminating in a cheeky nod to a rival's speech on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where Wonka nearly morphs into something far less whimsical. This clip captures the raw theater of politics, fiscal jousting, historical grudges, and a dash of humor, underscoring the eternal tug-of-war over economic stewardship in a nation grappling with budgets and legacies.